All right, viewers, we're starting with the big breaking news. Is it that Trump's miscalculation is now costing the world? There seems to be some contrary claims which are now emanating. First of all, Trump basically said that the Iranian retaliation was a surprise for him. He called the Gulf attacks, quote unquote, a huge surprise. Trump went on to claim that he was not briefed when it comes to Iran's retaliation. But now reports are coming to the fore which seems to be contradicting what Trump had claimed. Reports say that Trump had warned of Iran's response. Intel was flagged that there could be a possible Iranian retaliation, and Trump claimed that even experts were taken aback. So basically, look at the contradiction. Trump says that I didn't expect Iranian retaliation. Experts were also taken aback when Iran attacked Gulf countries. Reports say no, Trump was alerted. Trump was told that Iran could respond and respond in the way it has. So is it that Trump is confused? Why are these contradictory claims emanating? And what does it mean? How are we to read the same? We have to decode Trump's claims and what it means. Srinjoy, my colleague, joining us live on the broadcast. Srinjoy, there seems to be some contradiction, you know. On one hand, Trump says, no, I was not briefed. We did not expect this type of retaliation. Trump says, I didn't even expect that Iran would hit friendly nations. But reports seem to be contradicting it. Is it that Trump's miscalculation seem to be costing the world today?
First of all, the Americans are a very professional, have a very professional intelligence organization. So before the war, before the first bomb was dropped, there would have been a lot of conferences and extensive planning. Then the one thing that would have come up is what can Iran do? And surely the president would have been told, would have been informed of the possibilities. Now, there is always a chance of Iran blocking the Straits of Hormuz. How can you not see that as part of the plan? How can you not see Iran not hitting the Gulf states? So these were clearly possible options placed before the president. You would imagine that the American intelligence establishment, the American security planners would see this under a sort of list which would be what are Iran's options. And surely the possibility of the Straits of Hormuz being closed would be there. Surely the fact that Iran could, in desperation, hit the Gulf states, that could be there. I mean, if it is not there, then it shows a lack of planning. It shows a lack of foresight. But you would imagine the American intelligence planners, security planners, all the assessments, they would have brought this up somewhere during the discussions, somewhere during the briefings.
And we are talking about, obviously, what Trump said when it comes to the Gulf, reaction of Iran on Gulf countries. Trump basically claiming that he did not expect this type of a reaction. He did not expect Iran to attack friendly countries. Reports contradicting it. Let's listen into what Trump said, and then we will, viewers, talk about how the U.S. partners are reacting when it comes to White House and Trump's call for Hormuz. Let's first listen into what Trump said when it comes to Iran's attack on friendly countries.
We were talking about Iran a couple times today and what they did after Epic Fury began. You said they hit Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. Nobody expected that. We were shocked. Are you surprised that nobody briefed you ahead of time that that might be their retaliation? Their retaliation?
Nobody, no. The greatest experts, nobody thought they were going to hit. They were, I wouldn't say friendly countries, they were like neutral. They lived with them for years. Peter, they were going to take over the Middle East. They were going to knock out Israel with their nuclear weapon. But after we knocked out their nuclear potential weapon, they started building missiles, thousands and thousands of missiles.
And viewers, now, reports also emerging, and it looks like Trump is upset as the US partners seem to be rejecting a call when it comes to the Hormuz warship escort. Several US allies seem to have rebuffed Donald Trump's call on Monday to send warships to escort tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, drawing criticism from the US president, who accused Western partners of ingratitude after decades of support. The US-Israeli war on Iran is in its third week, with no end in sight. The critical Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of the world's oil, liquefied natural gas flow, remains largely closed off, raising energy prices and obviously the fears of when it comes to inflation as well. Srinjoy is joining us live on the broadcast. He's obviously decoding this entire story for us. Srinjoy, if we could come to you, talking about the US partners rejecting a call for Hormuz warship escorts. Can you elaborate on that and tell us, how the US allies, the US partners are rejecting or rather reacting to Trump's call when it comes to giving warship escorts in the Strait of Hormuz?
First of all, if the Americans were so serious about this, they should have called their partners and their allies a long time before the war. They could have briefed the allies, the British, the French, the Japanese, the South Koreans, the Australians. China is not an ally, but nevertheless, and told them that, look, this could happen. Will you keep your warships ready? Now, this is not something that these countries, the British, the French, and so on, were even told about. Now, they were told not at the last minute, but after the last minute.
Yeah.
After the Iranians closed the Straits of Hormuz.
So is it that the allies were not taken into confidence, they were informed later, which is also leading to these reactions? Srinjoy, do stay with us and we will discuss this point in detail as well. We also have Pathikrit Payne, who's joined us on the phone line. Sir, would you say, or does it look like to you as an expert, that the world seems to be paying the price for Trump's miscalculations? End of the day, look at what Trump had to say. In a most recent press briefing, Trump says, I didn't expect this type of retaliation from Iran. Even experts were surprised that Iran started hitting and attacking the friendly countries. But on the other hand, there are reports after reports which are coming out, clearly showing how Trump was in detail briefed that this is exactly how Iran could react.
Well, I think Iran is not attacking any friendly country. All the countries in that in the vicinity, Iran has always perceived them as adversary for, stationing American bases. Number one. Number two, U.S. had probably somewhere miscalculated, but this is the kind of miscalculation or overzealousness that they have always shown. It took them 20 years. They stayed in Afghanistan for 20 years, and to replace Taliban, eventually they had to find that no one else but Taliban. The same thing happened in Vietnam. Libya is not, again, a great story for them. Iraq has been a mess, though it's still a little better now. So overall, if you see, America probably never goes to a war to win a war. The military-industrial complex always believes in elongating the war so that more weapon systems can be sold. Today, if you look at what is happening in Strait of Hormuz, or what the Iranians have done, I think the Americans pretty well knew that they have a huge arsenal of ballistic missiles. Yes, the Iranians do not have a formidable navy or an air force, but that was never their forte. Their forte was also always about loitering munitions and ballistic missiles. And the Americans have always knew one thing, that if the retaliation happens, it will not happen within or inside the mainland of America. It will happen in the Middle East, and that's why the American allies in the vicinity, and of course Israel, they are suffering from what is happening. So I think this war, what the Americans or the Washington actually thought that it will end in 2 or 4 days, just like the Venezuela operation, was again a major miscalculation. Or perhaps they wanted the entire region to be into turmoil all over again. So there are many subterfuges, and I think, putting a warship in the Strait of Hormuz is not like a child's play. There are a lot of logistical issues involved. As it is, he has already soured his relationship with the Transatlantic European Council. By claiming that Greenland will be taken over by America. So I think the French and the other European counterparts of U.S., who otherwise have always been hand in glove in every American operation, were not very comfortable this time because they never knew if the next operation will be inside Europe or not. Okay. So there is a lot of unpredictability about what Trump is doing, and I think they were not convinced about the idea that bombing Iran to rubble will be the best way to give freedom
Yes,
to
and
the
since you
people.
were speaking, sir, about the reaction of the US partners, we also have Mr. Robinder Sachdev, who's also joined us on the phone line. Sir, if I could ask you a question on this point. Looks like Trump seems to be a little upset at the moment because US partners, the so-called allies of the United States, they themselves have rejected the White House call when it comes to the Hormuz warship escorts. How do you see this latest development, sir, first of all?
Thank you. I mean, this is being classic Trump. I mean, he may sound upset and all. This is how he, acts. He bluffs, he bullies, he threatens, he goes back. He uses media, by the way, heavily to create a narrative or some viewpoint. His arguments play out in the media, his case. This is what he has done ever since he was in business. If you look at his, career in real estate in New York, this is what he will do, browbeat the opponents and all. So he's used to this. So, and that's what he's doing. This is being classic Trump. But yes, this time around, the stakes are very much different, and the theater is the world stage. That's the difference this time. Otherwise, it's being normal Trump.
And that's exactly the point, so which we are also highlighting. You said this is classic Trump, but end of the day, it is the global order which is also disturbed by the calls which Trump is taking. It looks like the world is paying the price for Trump's calls, isn't it?
Yeah, the world is paying a price, definitely, for what Trump is doing. But in Trump's worldview, perhaps, and in the worldview of people like Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, what they're doing is the right thing for America, and they think it's working. This is what they want to do. This is what they want to do within the country. They're making major shakeups and whatever policies, and outside in the world. They're trying to shape the world in their own image as how they look at it. And they think they have the money, they have the power, they have the technology, weapons to do it.
But, the unilateral calls, that is something obviously which everyone is questioning. But thank you, sir, for joining us. I'd like to go back to my colleague Srinjoy. Apologies, Srinjoy, we had to interrupt you earlier. You were talking specifically about the so-called US partner, the so-called US allies who don't seem to be on the same page when it comes to Trump's Hormuz call. What impact will it have on the world? Because, again, it is the oil nerve center of the world, and anything which happens in Hormuz disturbs the global order. It affects the oil prices when it comes to, obviously, the world, and it impacts us in India as well.
First of all, the Japanese are a world away. The South Koreans and the Australians are as far away. Now, if you were going to start this war, and if you wanted the Japanese and the South Koreans and the Australians, I'm not even getting to the Chinese, to guard and escort ships in the Straits of Hormuz, surely you would have briefed them earlier. Did you do that? Probably not. So the Japanese didn't know, the South Koreans didn't know, the Australians didn't know, leave alone the British and the French. Now suddenly there is a requirement that the Straits of Hormuz needs escorts, warships to escort tankers and so on. Now, all these countries have been caught off guard because they weren't told in the first place. And that's the first thing they will tell themselves. That why weren't asked themselves, why weren't we told? First question. Secondly, the sheer idea of warships guarding and escorting tankers through the Straits of Hormuz. Now, yes, President Trump rightly says we've destroyed the Iranian Air Force and the Navy and the air defense systems. All of that may be right. But he's also said we've degraded the missile weapons that they had. We've degraded the drones. When you degrade something, it means that the Iranians have fewer missiles, fewer drones, but they still have some.
And there seems to be no letting down. Obviously, we have some breaking news also coming in, Srinjoy, when it comes to escalation in the tension. Let's take a look at the latest breaking news, which is coming in at this point in time. Qatar basically saying that missile intercept has triggered a blaze. Qatar saying that debris basically sparked the fire in the industrial area. Civil defense contained the fire promptly, but obviously, when it comes to the escalation in tension, that the latest updates which are coming as coming our way are highlighting the same. So basically, obviously this is a statement by Qatar claiming that civil defense is dealing with a minor fire in the industrial area. That is the latest report coming in. They are basically giving a clarification as to what had happened. They are saying that missiles had been intercepted. There are no injuries reported. But I believe, Srinjoy, that is a very similar point you were making. While missiles have been intercepted, injuries are not reported. But end of the day, Iran seems to be in no mood to let down, isn't it?
Yes, you're right. See, what happens is the Straits of Hormuz, all it takes is one missile. All it takes is one drone attack. And then once a big tanker is hit by 2 missiles, then it's gone. The other thing is a warship. In some ways, a warship is more vulnerable because on the warship, on the deck, you will have radars, you will have missiles, you will have guns, all of that. All of that can be hit by a drone, by a missile. So this is something that the British, the French, the Japanese, the South Koreans, the Australians, they realize the difficulties involved in doing this. If they had been taken into confidence before the war, if the president had reached out to, let's say, Keir Starmer and President Macron and all the others and said, look, this is something we guys have to do together, then it would be different. But then again, how many of these 5 or 6 leaders, I'm not even including the Chinese, how many of these 5 or 6 leaders would have agreed for operations against Iran? That's also something that has to be kept in mind.
Yeah.
How many? You heard the British Prime Minister be very equivocal about this operation.
Absolutely.
Has he said that we completely support the Americans on this? He didn't. He said, we are discussing it. We are nowhere near a decision. And Keir Starmer is British. And the British, the Anglo-American alliance, is not about the 21st century. It goes back to the 20th century.
Again, when it comes to allies also, they're not exactly on the same page when it comes to Trump. But Srinjoy, do stay with us because we have more breaking news coming in. That is the Embassy of India in Kuwait. We are talking, viewers, about obviously the fallout of the war on the wall on India as well. So Embassy of India in Kuwait also has said that all consular service of the embassy are continuing as usual. This is obviously in the backdrop of all the reports which had been coming in. Consular services functioning normally. That is the latest update which is coming in at this point of time. They are assuring basically that everything is normal. Assurances are coming in, Srinjoy, but very quick answer, if I could get from you, the latest ground situation.
Well, the war is continuing. 18 days of fighting. The bombings are going on. Iran is fighting back with its missiles and with its drones. How long this will last, nobody knows.
Absolutely. And how long does this last? What happens next? That obviously is the question which is there in everybody's mind. There is no side which seems to be really letting down. Everyone seems to be only upping the stakes, be it Trump, be it Iran. Nobody seems to be in any mood of letting down. Meanwhile, obviously, as we were telling our viewers, the consular services are running as usual. This is India assuring all of those people who are, living abroad, who are living there in Kuwait, that is the embassy, confirming that the operations are normal. All consular services are functioning as normal. Now, what is happening? Let's also talk about Israel, viewers. We spoke of Iran, of America. Israel, there is a video which is making obviously the headlines when it comes to Netanyahu. Remember the 5-finger video when it comes to Netanyahu going to a cafe? That seems to be creating a lot of headlines. And in the backdrop of this, we have my colleague who has gone to the exact same spot. He has filed reports from that spot. Let's take a look at his reports.
Amidst this ongoing war between the US, Iran and Israel, there were lots of rumors that the Prime Minister of Israel was no more. But he himself chose a place, which is Sataf Cafe, which is right behind me, and we'll bring you exclusively Mr. A. He is not going to tell his name, and he's also hiding his identity because of the security reasons. But we'll ask him the questions that were they aware that Prime Minister himself will be coming to this place? And what is the significance of this video And was it really true?
Hi, how are you?
Absolutely good. So what is the significance of this place set up now?
This place is very special because we have the view, the best view in Israel, I think so. And we have the best pastry and coffee. I think the Prime Minister wants to come here to impress by himself.
Was the Prime Minister really here and he had a coffee?
Make sure the Prime Minister here, he's alive. Don't worry, he didn't have 6 fingers, he just have 5 fingers. He drank a coffee. Actually, he said he want the coffee strong and with more foam. So don't worry, it's him.
Now people are questioning the same video. They are saying it is fake video.
No, it's not fake video. The Prime Minister come here. Yeah, it's not fake.
Do you have to give any message to the people around?
The message is come to Sataf, and we love the peace. And we are not talk about the politics. We want just peace with everybody. And this is my message to everybody. Come to Sataf, drink coffee, look at the view, the magnificent view, and that's all.
So you heard he's also sending a message to our Prime Minister in India. Times Now brings you to the same cafe which Prime Minister used to dispel all kind of rumors which were there against him, that he was no more. And we are holding the same cup of coffee which he had, and he said that he was waiting for such coffees, and he had used his hand to show that he did not have extra flesh. He had the 5 fingers. So Times Now has come to this place. We spoke to the managers here. We got to know that Prime Minister Benjamin, he spent almost 25 minutes here, and he was enjoying coffee. He was talking to people around. And when we further spoke to the people, they said it's better that war gets over and peace comes to the place. So as you can see, this cafe is very famous at the spot, and it is mounted over a mountain.
Right, that obviously is an exclusive ground report. Remember, viewers, there have been a lot of rumors about Netanyahu's current condition. He's released another video, a new video, with which we are closing the bulletin. Israel claiming that Netanyahu fit and fine, hoping obviously to give that messaging by this particular video.
שיר אמר ואת? שיר גם. יש לנו 2 שירים כאן. מה ששיר ושיר אמרו זה הדבר המרכזי. צריך להבין, זה דורש אורך רוח, אבל זה גם אפשר לפעמים לצאת לרוח, להתאוורר, אבל תמיד להיות ליד מרחב מוגן, וגם פה עם שיר ושיר.